How do you do? The Box Office Pulp Board feels it would be a little unkind to present this podcast without just a word of friendly warning. We're about to unfold a cinematic commentary track, made by a group of men who sought to create a podcast after their own ravings, without reckoning upon God. It is one of the strangest tales ever told. It deals with three great mysteries of the internet: analysis, observation, and deconstruction. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel you'd not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now's your chance to... well, we've warned you. Now, to pause and refresh. For your convenience, we have an attractive refreshment stand in the lobby, with buttered popcorn, golden good and hot from the popper, your favorite candies, wholesome and rich, plus delicious Dr. Pepper, so bright and bracing with a tang and tingle unmatched by any other beverage. Enjoy an ice-cold Dr. Pepper at our beverage stand right now, and then return to fully appreciate this bop and a movie commentary track. Enjoy.
All right, enough showgirls.
Enough showgirls. It's time for a bop and a movie. That's not showgirls. Sorry. If you're at home and you want to watch showgirls, I mean, you could watch our commentary first and then showgirls.
Cody, none of this is in the episode.
None of it?
Nope.
Aw, you guys are no fun.
That would be hilarious if the opening of this commentary was 30 minutes of us discussing Shop.
I was going to start with just showgirls aside.
Yeah, that's where I thought we were going with it.
And then this discussion will be in of where does the episode start? Who are we? What is this thing? What's a podcast?
I don't understand reality. Anyways, if you're sitting at home right now, we're trying to introduce a Box Office Pulp episode about Wes Craven's A Nightmare on Elm Street. And I emphasize the trying part because this is a flaming train wreck. Anyways.
Yeah, technically this isn't even a Box Office Pulp episode. This is a bop in a movie.
This is a bop in a movie, which is an offshoot of Box Office Pulp.
Beans and
robot cum jokes.
You got all of it. Anyways.
Beans and cornbread, robot cum jokes. We got everything here on Box Office Pulp.
What are you looking for? We've got it. Just please give us stars on iTunes.
Why do I feel like Cody's just, yes, rate us on iTunes. Why do I feel like Cody's just going to open his trench coat and there's just going to be movie stuff in there? Different kinds of jokes we made. Would you like
I got video
Jim
disc.
Gordon from The Dark Knight Rises? Would you like Trident Man?
I thought about that guy in a while. Wonder what he's up to. He probably got taken out by the docket. That's an in-joke. You people at home won't get it.
Cody, start the goddamn thing. We'll explain what's going on.
I already tried to explain. You pushed me away. So I'm your host. I'm Cody. Joining me today, we've got Mike.
Hey.
We've got MB.
Hey.
And we've got James.
Hello.
You're
and
all
together,
our children.
Go team go. We're going to be covering... I'm going to say A Nightmare on Elm Street about 80 times during the show. People are going to hate me for saying it so often.
Why can't we just start a goddamn episode? What is our fucking problem? Back in the day, when this show started, we were to the point, we were succinct. Every time we started, we had pre-written jokes. We had everything down. We got it done. Now, what the hell is going on in this
We like to
Tried it,
live.
that broke us.
Those days are finished.
And this is the day Mike had a breakdown off in the movie.
So it's a good day for me, folks. We finally broke Mike.
Mike,
if you're still paying attention, people at home.
it's just a dream.
No, actually, it's real. It's terrible and real.
I turned my back on you, Cody.
Poof. If you're still listening to this commentary, God bless you. And what you're going to want to do is pop in your DVD or Blu-ray or your Netflix or your Hulus of A Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one, not the remake, and get that bad boy to the 000 mark, the very, very, very beginning of the film. We're going to do a countdown in a couple seconds here, assuming we can get our shit together, which actually is probably unlikely. We're going to hit the play button, and we're going to give you our thoughts on A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yes, and we should probably note that at the time of this, we only recently lost director Wes Craven, and we're considering this more of a tribute. We're going to have more of a supplemental tribute later on down the line, but this is our way of saying thanks to the horror maestro.
Our bad jokes aside, this is our memoriam for Wes Craven.
I like how our touching tribute starts off with robot dick jokes. And showgirls. That's wonderful.
Well,
now I feel like
it didn't start with showgirls, okay? We're not leaving that in.
Well, now
also,
we have to because we mentioned it.
Wes Craven would appreciate it. You know what, Cody?
Okay, you
So
two.
You hear that, Vitus? Even the phones are dead.
Okay, if you two could drop the Robert Englund Heather Langenkamp thing for a minute, we need to get to this movie.
You're right, it's prime time, bitch.
Yes.
Anyways.
Prime time, bitch.
Reference. See? We'll see what I did there.
Welcome to my nightmare.
MB has to live with us. Ha 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 ha. All right, James, count us down.
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, Cody's coming for you.
3, 4, gonna scream at your door.
I do that to everyone anyways, not even in the night.
Well, I
don't believe in knocking.
I never get tired of seeing the old New Line Cinema logo that looks like it's for a completely different company.
It always reminds me of Predator 2.
It does.
Yeah. It was before Freddy built that house. This was like the equivalent of just having a bead curtain over a doorway because you haven't built a door yet.
By the way, I love a Robert Shea production underneath that image of evil.
Nothing's more appropriate. Also, I like how Fred Krueger is still wearing his sweater while making this.
Yeah, you think it'd be warm in that boiler room.
I know. He really is a psycho. A few things in the world of horror are more magical than watching a killer prepare with the title card, a Wes Craven film underneath.
As we learned in another film.
Dana.
Yes, Mike finally showed us Shocker for the first time last week, and it's like...
It's a hell of a thing.
Your life is new. It's like you've been born again.
It's Wes Craven Unbound.
Shaka!
Shaka!
Look at my favorite little ad to this, which I think is the goat is coming up. Oh, it's a sheep. It's a sheep.
I was hoping they would say something about it in the commentary track, and they basically just mentioned, we get a lot of questions about this. Moving on. The mystery lives.
They use some, like, weird subconscious dream imagery, so I think it, like, represents something. I'm pretty sure snakes show up, and snakes represent something.
Yeah, snakes are later on different dream sequence.
Yeah. Because little known fact, I constantly have dreams about snakes.
Right.
Your mind would not be a place for me.
No, I don't have a fear of snakes or anything.
I do, so that's horrifying.
I always kind of just interpreted the sheep as, like, just a thing that gets slaughtered.
I guess that could be the joke, but I don't know. It's
possible. Well, I guess the sheep is white, she's dressed in white.
It would make sense, because it is kind of a film about, lost innocence.
And the fairy tale idea, so that actually makes sense.
Well, it's also just, it plays into Freddy's humor, because as a character, I mean, Wes Craven talked about this. We watched Never Sleep Again leading up to this, and Wes Craven talked a lot about the character of Freddy and where he originated from, and Freddy Krueger basically, as opposed to every other slasher character, he really
revels in the
fear
that he gives.
Yeah, he thrives on scaring the crap out of you. Like, the kill honestly does nothing for him. It's the build-up for him.
He's the biggest shit around. Like, it's not just murdering kids. He gets off on just fucking tease.
I love that
He's the
one
rock star of death.
Yeah, I love that one little shot of her running with the camera behind her shoulder, because she has that dream run where she's not really going anywhere.
Yeah, they actually put her on a treadmill for that.
Yeah, that was always cool.
Now, few things are scarier in the world of dreams than that Jell-O run you always do.
So apparently that factory they were filming in, like a couple of years after they were done, they found out it had been like basically abandoned because there were asbestos over everything. And it was actually really kind of unsettling in the commentary track because Wes Craven mentions, yeah, I imagine like 20 years we're all going to be dead from cancer.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, when was this recorded? And apparently it was like either the DVD or Laserdisc commentary track. So I'm like, that's actually not too far off, Wes.
Wow.
Yikes.
Yeah, it's like The Conqueror.
By the way, for those wondering, we actually have recorded it pretty close afterwards to Wes Craven's passing, which was a real shock and a real shame because nobody really knew he had that.
Yeah, it was just so sudden to find out that he passed. He was, I think, updated his Twitter fairly often, so I didn't even, I assumed if there was something wrong with his health, it would have been public knowledge.
Yeah.
We just missed a really great camera shot. The camera pans over, the speed changes actually, goes from slow motion to regular speed, and there's kind of a filter over the camera to give everything a daydreamy blur. And in one slide, that camera removed all of that, changed speed. Apparently there were like 6 guys that had to operate the camera at the same time because, this was filmed in the 80s. They didn't have any digital tricks to really do it. They had to do it live.
How'd they do the filter without...
I haven't been racking my brain trying to think of how they did that. If they just had like a sheet with various different, that could warp.
Maybe. I don't...
Kind of like a blur built to it and they could just run it by real quick.
It's just, I don't see it leave in any specific direction. It just like dissipates.
It's like a soft focus thing too, maybe. So maybe it's just, they could adjust the focus on the camera.
Possibly.
As they were going, just slowly,
the lights go out.
No idea. Yeah, I have no idea how they did it.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they had maybe there was like a light trick off camera.
Yeah, they had to do it all practically in camera. That wasn't a post-production effect, so I have no idea what they did there. And they didn't have a ton of money either, so it wasn't like they could just throw money on CGI or something crazy.
By the way, introducing Johnny Depp.
Babyface Depp. In the role of a lifetime.
4 years later, Edward Scissorhands.
I've always loved how the only thing Depp has ever really had to say about this is just, I was eaten by the bed.
It's weird because you think Depp would be so into talking about this.
It seems like a movie Depp would watch in his spare time if he wasn't in it.
Well, actually, it feels like Depp actually does have a lot of respect for this movie for giving him a start. Like, he said he would have gladly done New Nightmare if Wes had...
Yeah, they just asked
Wes
him.
Craven was really the one that didn't make that happen because he was too shy about contacting him because he had become...
Yeah, Johnny Depp was a big star, so yeah. That's not going to happen. Johnny Depp is probably just sitting by his phone waiting.
God, could you imagine Johnny Depp appearing as Johnny Depp in the third act of New Nightmare to take down Freddy once and for all?
Getting pulled into his expensive bed.
No, he beats him with a blood-stained mattress. How does it feel? How does it feel? How does it feel?
Why is he going into Nick Cage? How'd it get burned? How'd it get burned? How'd it get burned? How'd it get burned?
No, different serial killer.
Okay, so...
Teenagers are so wholesome with their popcorn and soda.
Actually, what I was going to comment on, something I feel has lent this movie to timelessness over the years is just how it never feels like it's in any specific era. Like it has, like in the scene we saw previously with them arriving at school, it almost looked like a scene out of Archie comics. It had a very 50s feel to it. This scene feels more like late 70s, and it bounces around a lot so that you can never quite place it.
Visually, it's very Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
The score is the score is definitely a product of the 80s. I like the score, and it really fits the movie, but that synth just instantly dates it in my mind.
Oh, yeah. The main theme's always good, but I think one thing the sequels did have going for them a little bit more is the score got better as it went along. Now, the main theme obviously was here, but I feel like all the other incidental music got better as the movies went along. And then Dream Warriors just had, just had the best song ever.
Dream Warriors.
I don't know, it's no Bud the Chud.
Well, nothing is but
inside our dreams.
Chud. Bud the chud. Bud the chud.
Anyway, like, one thing that I kind of have to admit here, that you guys already know this, but I do not really have a relationship with the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Like,
Except for the first 20 minutes of this movie?
Yeah, basically, we attempted to record this, and with audio issues, that kind of didn't happen, but
Freddy killed us in the commentary. It was a whole thing.
Yeah,
Damn you, Skype.
But I've literally never watched any of the films. I've maybe seen like one scene from maybe two of them, and I just don't really. I've never, for whatever reason, gotten into it. Like, it's not out of any choice. It's just I never really had an incentive to go into them. So, for whatever reason, Freddy Krueger was just kind of this thing that I absorbed through cultural osmosis.
This is MB's blind watch.
But Freddy was everywhere. Like, it'd be hard not to have that happen to you.
It is
Freddy
impressive.
was
It's
the
like,
1980s. I mean, just
there was a
toll-free
toll-free. There was a toll-free number where you could call and Freddy would laugh at you.
Freddy had a TV show. That was awful.
There was a parody in The Simpsons. That's how you know he made it. Treehouse of Terror. Oh, what year was that? Drawing a blank.
That was one of the first ones. That was year 3.
That was 5, I want to say.
Right.
I was going to say 5, and then 3, and then I got confused, so we'll say 4.
That was
Anyways, it's got Willie. It's fantastic.
Hey, the important thing is that episode had the best Freddy one-liner not said by Freddy Krueger. You mastered a dead tongue, but can you handle a live one? I want them to remake Nightmare on Elm Street just so fucking Jackie Earle Haley can say that.
That was such a spot-on thing for Nightmare on Elm Street, too. How many times have tongues appeared as, like, living creatures in the Nightmare movies?
They love those tongues.
They do.
I think it's just an easy special effect.
That's probably also true.
I just throw a liver in there.
We get that amazing tongue from this movie. Just wiggling back and forth.
I like the misdirect at the start of the movie here. It's a lot like Scream in the fact that Tina is the first one we see, and it almost seems like she should be our main character. And
it's all the focus.
Years later, now Johnny Depp's a big star, so you'd almost assume he'd be the star here, but it's introducing him, so they had no incentive to make him the focal point. So it's kind of surprising to find out who the real main focus is. Because, in these earlier scenes, there's not all that much of a focus on Heather.
No, she's just kind of off to the side. And basically, they even go through the trouble of, setting up Tina's family life with her mother and assuming her John. It's just not...
It's something Wes Craven does a lot in his films, which is it's the opposite of the Friday the 13th experience where the characters are all just people in sweaters that are waiting to be killed. He always gives the victims, especially the first act victims, a tremendous amount of pathos.
Yeah, people who die in Wes Craven movies are never just fodder.
And it's weird because it's not like he doesn't do stunt kills. Drew Barrymore obviously in the first Scream, but even she serves a point to some extent.
And it's treated like a person just died, and that's terrible.
Yeah, it's strange. Like how he's the only one that does that, as opposed to a million other horror directors who just don't really want to change how they approach things. It's weird.
Yeah, it's always set him apart from even his more schlockier stuff. It always kind of set it apart from others.
Yeah, Shocker, for all its schlock and for all the stuff it revels in, it still plays straight and gives his characters a lot of really unexpected depth.
And another thing, which we've just seen here, despite the fact that sex usually plays a part in Craven's movies, he never really plays it for anything titillating, which is very rare amongst horror movies.
This is one of the few slasher movies where anything psychosexual does not play into it, even though Freddy, originally, and for all intents and purposes, is a child molester. It's not really the point of his murders, anything sexual or...
Yeah, like, there's an element of that, because, of course, he wants to terrorize teenage girls, and that's, that's just kind of the basis of what makes him so creepy, but at the same time, like, he could really... You get the sense that he could really do this to anyone and get just as much enjoyment out of it.
Well, this is revenge for Freddy.
Yeah.
Oh, and here's the infamous spandex shot.
Still one of the greatest zero-budget effects of all time.
Just buy a whole bunch of spandex stretched across the wall and make the special effects guy jump into it. But it works so good.
If only it was CGI, though.
Oh, man.
Yeah, can you just have a fully formed Freddy come through the wall and spin around?
Hey, if it works for the Frighteners, it works for this.
I don't know if you guys really have this opinion, but is the Friday the 13th, or not the Friday the 13th, the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, do you guys feel like that was a huge missed opportunity? Because
definitely.
Yeah.
There's so much you could do.
Yeah, I feel like there is a lot of stuff that actually could be, and I've never seen any of the Nightmare on Elm Street films, but it seems like from a conceptual basis, there's a lot you could do really differently from Craven.
They take place in dreams.
I know.
Yeah.
And my thought has always been, when it came to the remake, was age the kids down. Do almost a Joe Dante kind of thing, but with the fury of the first Nightmare on Elm Street and all the surreal imagery, and age them down.
Well, the ages here, I think you mentioned this during our failed attempt, are actually surprisonly different than what you'd expect. Tina's 15, you were saying, Mike?
Yeah, bro.
Which made that sex scene even more uncomfortable.
Johnny Depp is 12.
He looks it.
Well, Johnny Depp looks like he only just turned 16 today.
Oh, boogity, 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 boogity.
Yeah, the remake missed out on a lot of opportunities to really sell what you can do in a dreamscape.
By the way, I just want to say, goofiest special effect of all time somehow works.
Still creepy. Still kind
There's
of
no reason
arms.
for that to not be stupid, but it's terrifying.
It really sells it with the claw shooting sparks, I think.
Well, I think it's mainly due to the fact that Robert Englund has one of the creepiest voices of all time, and he's laughing during it.
I love Freddy just as God terrorizing her.
This is weird. It's like he's one of the few characters in horror that really has no limit to his power.
Which again just makes it so sad that with the remake they did absolutely nothing with that premise.
Well, they lost a lot of Freddy's playfulness, which is, makes sense because he is a child molester in the remake, and you don't really want to laugh at his murdering antics. It's just uncomfortable.
Well, I mean, there's amusement here, but it's not the clown Freddy from the sequels.
Well, yeah, and they did.
Freddy's always been such a weird character to get behind anyways. Like, it only works because Robert Englund is able to just make you forget what a terrible piece of shit Freddy is.
He's very likable.
It's also like, Jackie Earle Haley was really a great choice for Freddy. Like, I feel like even with the makeup and stuff, I always actually kind of liked that design from the remake.
Haley is easily the best thing about that remake.
Yeah, the more realistic burns make a very Freddy. I guess not good looking, but it works. It sells the design.
But it's like there's just such a soullessness to it.
Yeah,
because it's just really trying to be a modern horror movie.
The Nightmare on Elm Street remake feels like a Funny or Die video saying, "What if they remade Nightmare on Elm Street today?" Like, it is point by point every bad modern horror movie mistake.
And for being a remake, it seems less bloody than what we're watching right now. Like, this was a pretty damn disturbing kill. That woman was just dragged all over the room, screaming, contorting, blood just fucking everywhere.
Well, I think
it's a pretty unsettling kill.
I think we were still stuck in, like, we were just getting out of the PG-13 horror movie mode at that point, so even the R-rated movies were pretty tame.
Because I remember the remake opens up with like someone sticking a steak knife in their throat, and that was fairly graphic, but I can't remember much for the rest of it, gore-wise.
I just remember them doing the exact same gag from the end of this with the mother, but instead of her being pulled through the door, Freddy puts his glove through her head and her head explodes in horrible CGI.
Oh yeah, I'd forgotten that. Yep, that happened.
Oh, enter the drunkest looking mother in movie history. Like, she is like the female Tom Atkins. She looks like she's made of whiskey.
You just look at her there. She doesn't even know where she's at.
We've passed this for a while back, but when Tina goes up to the window and there's a pebble lodged in there, one of the commentators, they were saying it was supposed to be a tooth, which kind of is why she's reacting the way she does and is confused. But it really makes me think of Blue Velvet. For some reason, finding random body parts in places you wouldn't expect them, always scary. Just if you find an ear in a field, that's unsettling. You find a tooth in a window, that's fucked up.
What was the movie where somebody finds a tooth in, like, their loft apartment or something?
Oh man, I'm drawing a blank, but that sounds really familiar.
Is it the recent thriller The Loft? I just want to acknowledge how sad it is that Heather Langenkamp was not a bigger star after this movie, because I have always thought she was awesome.
Very good. She's probably the also best final girl.
Oh, definitely.
So much more going for her final girl than anybody else, really.
Yeah, there's a lot of strong feminist themes in Wes Craven's movies that nobody ever talks about. And the entire, like, part of the reason Craven, like, got into making this movie was so much was just the idea of having a survivor girl who didn't fall down. Like, Nancy was like the first action heroine of horror.
Yeah. Well, I think, like, to some degree, Jamie Lee Curtis in the original Halloween was a kind of the first really strengthened final girl, where she was like, she wasn't out to be like a sexual object or anything like that. She wasn't out to be like, she didn't need to be tough. She was just normal. She was just like someone who was actually responding to all of this. Whereas, like, I feel like this character, from what little I know about it, is more of like, she is tough as nails as far as.
It's about Nancy takes. I mean, even how she defeats Freddy, she takes control of the situation. And it's all about taking control. While Freddy, everything about Freddy is taking everyone's control of their own consciousness, everything else. I mean, that's why he's a child molester. Everything is involving that with Freddy.
I just realized that MB is going to be experiencing the third act of this movie for the first time. MB, remember the ending of Hardware? Yeah, it gets that.
Yeah.
You see Nancy open up a can of whoop ass.
It's very different.
She does not.
Next is the ending of Nightmare on Elm Street, actually.
Definitely a good way to convince someone you're not a killer. I'm going to grab you and pull you into these bushes.
God damn it, Bobby Briggs.
Someone listen to me. Why is this just turning into the Lynchosphere?
The Lynchosphere. The name of his new movie.
I like John Saxon just coming out of the bushes.
He's just there.
With that face just carved out of mountain rock.
And that hairpiece.
The action hairpiece.
I love early 80s movies and those actors that just look like they wake up smoking a cigar. It's very specific to this era. Like, those dudes they just look like they're always taking a shit.
So, MB hasn't seen the movie. James, I believe you have quite the history with A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, yeah. I've told the guys this story before.
Shh, no, this is the first time I'm reacting.
What is it? What could it be?
God damn it, don't you guys watch late night talk shows? This is how they always do it. They know the stories ahead of time, but they have to pretend to be... Okay, just go on. You know what? No, I'm not interested anymore.
So, James, you're promoting a new movie.
About your childhood.
But, my first memory as a human being on this earth is of Freddy Krueger. Yeah,
Now, you might be confused by what he means by that.
I'm gonna let the audience draw their own conclusions. No.
Go on.
And this would be whenever I was roughly maybe 4 years old. And when I say my first memory, I mean this is as far as I can go back with intense concentration.
Wee baby James.
Yeah,
James Man begins.
Shut up.
Yeah. Also, now we're Craven's use of never knowing when reality stops and begins. Oh, that weird crap he does.
But, whenever I was 4 years old, we were moving out of the apartment we had lived in at the time, and we were moving our last bit of stuff out when all of a sudden I really needed to use the bathroom, and my sister's friend let me go into her apartment and use her bathroom, but as I'm standing there, attempting to release urine, I look back and the door is open a crack, and reflected in the bathroom window is her brother's Freddy Krueger poster. And it's not just a regular poster, it's one of those weird, like, plastic 3D posters from the mid-90s. So it just looks like he's standing there. And I know if I close my eyes and look away, I can pee. But I can't look away from him in case he comes alive and gets me.
1, 2, Freddy coming for you.
So I just go downstairs to the car and I just don't pee.
And he hasn't since that day.
He's still holding it, ladies and gentlemen. James, I think now's the time to let it go.
Yeah, James, you can remove the catheter.
Oh God, he got it all over the commentary.
And then we just reenact that one scene from Austin Powers for the next 35 minutes.
Okay, so we've missed half of the Freddy action so far in this scene.
No students allowed.
Were you always disappointed that your school did not have catacombs?
I know. Every movie school or TV school has catacombs. I mean, I guess it all can't be Sunnydale, but still.
My school had blood trails at least, so this makes some amount of sense.
Yours too?
Yeah.
That might just be...
Mine had the body bag, no blood trails, though.
Public schools.
Fun fact about my elementary school. One time during class, just school bus driver just shot and killed outside.
Ooh, damn.
School continued.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
What happened?
I don't remember. He just shot and killed. I grew up in a very bad part of town.
Like this is a story you tell at this point.
And he came back as Freddy Krueger.
I love how Freddy's body isn't burned.
Just his face.
And that's even a fake effect. Like, why couldn't they make him burned?
Well,
that's a good point, yeah.
Well, Freddy can look however he wants to. He made his torso sexy.
Also, bullshit. Like, shouldn't he just have writhing souls all over his chest?
Retcon.
They actually release a new edition where they add that in.
And he's holding a walkie-talkie instead of that glove. Love. England based his movements as Freddy on gunslingers, for one thing, because of how heavy the glove was. His shoulder went down. Also, James Cagney, interesting enough. But the biggest thing is, if you watch his movement, you can actually see it. I've actually only ever heard this information from somebody who had to be Freddy in a dream, having England explain to him how Freddy moves, that tongue, which was Bob Fosse. He based his movement on Bob Fosse. Don't know who that is. If you ever seen All That Jazz, he did the choreography of that. And if you look at Freddy, he does move like a dancer.
He's got the whole 1, 2, cha-cha-cha thing going.
Yeah.
Remember
It's like one
Wes
of those things
Craven's...
where once you hear it, you can't unsee it.
in the commentary, Wes Craven even mentions, like, they had to throw out footage using stuntmen because you could tell it wasn't the same guy. Because Englund's just got such a distinct way of moving, he had to do pretty much everything, or else you just know it wasn't right.
Yeah,
well, in the second one specifically, it's like the dude was just a Frankenstein.
Yeah, there's actually footage of, like, the week and a half where Bob Shea tried to replace Robert Englund. And it's just like, no, nobody can be Freddy but Robert Englund. No one has that silhouette.
The silhouette is really one of the biggest things to me about this character. If you see that silhouette, you instantly know what slasher it is. It's not the big hulking guy with a machete or any of the 1,000 ripoffs. The gloved hand, the weird posture, if he's got the hat on, you know, it's a very distinct look that's very different from any of the other killers out there.
Also, I'm sorry, your arm would look way worse if you touched like a burning, like just a horrifically hot pipe.
That was a dream pipe.
Dream pipe.
She put toothpaste on it. It's okay.
Dream pipes, totally different rules, man.
See, that's what Freddy needs. He just needs toothpaste all over his face. Clear that right up.
Also, fun fact about this actor from the Never Sleeps Again documentary, he is actually at...
Latino.
Yeah, well, no, he was... Well, there's that. But
unrelated to his Latino heritage.
Latino, and he's using a fake name, pretending to be Italian.
He's actually a really bad drug addict at this point.
Yeah, he's bombing in the scene.
Yeah, this movie was actually what got him clean, because he realized what a terrible life he was living at that point, because half of his acting in this isn't really acting. Like, there's a scene of him in the cell where he's just sleeping, and that's not just him sleeping, that's him passed out from drug use.
He's just a method actor.
Johnny Depp was the same way.
I'm sorry, not method, I meant meth.
What do you mean was?
Well, Depp has been trying to induce artificial dream states throughout his adult life so that he can meet Freddy on his own playing field. And beat him with that motherfucking mattress. How's it feel? How's it feel? How's it feel?
Tempur-Pedic, bitch.
I'm gonna go Craftmatic and dustful on your ass.
Here's your sleep number. But, I just imagine, like, for that scenario, Depp is still dressed as Captain Jack Sparrow. And so it's this weird clash of Captain Jack Sparrow and Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger. Movie matchups that just need to happen, in my opinion.
What this great Hannibal Lecter cell that he's been given?
Well, he is a criminal mastermind.
At least, can you at least give him shoes?
Do they put 15-year-olds in jail, or is that how that works? They just put them right in their own jail cell?
Well, he's
they like send them to juvenile detention or something?
It's like, oh god, we've captured the town's only brown man.
They actually beat the shit out of him after Nancy left.
Well, it's funny you mentioned earlier the fact that he's Latino. It's like, he couldn't actually mention that he was Latino when he was cast in this movie, because back then it was just kind of like frowned upon for Latino actors to be prominent in movies, so he had to use a different name than his actual name. It's so weird, like, when you think about it, because, like, this was 84. It's not like it was that long ago.
Yeah, it's not ancient history.
Yeah.
The setup for this really fascinated me, because I recently found out how they did it. I assumed it was just a guy laying in the tub with her, and no, they actually have like a 2-story set, and he is in the second, the basement, I guess, of the set, which is filled with water, and he would just pop out of the hole. And apparently you could just hear Wes Craven saying stuff like, okay, now, and then, he'd stick his hand up.
Well, basically, it's a tank.
Yeah, and she's like got her legs propped up on a couple of boards, more or less.
Yeah.
And a bathroom set
there's
perched on top.
behind-the-scenes footage of him just between her legs, taking a deep breath and diving down.
Yeah. Again, a great low-budget way of fixing it.
It's a very creepy moment in Never Sleep Again where he's like, yeah, I spent all day between Heather Langenkamp's legs. It's like, dude, she was like 17 at the time.
Yeah. He was 12, so.
By the way, am I the only one who, as a kid, used to pause this scene to try to find boobs?
I know I didn't.
I like how you just chastise someone for being. I was like, yeah.
I was of the appropriate age at the time. I was not a 48-year-old special effects person who knew better.
I'm just gonna leave this alone.
Me too. I really wish the mother frantically trying to unlock that door it was a fool and she was just opening the liquor cabinet.
Oh God, trouble.
Old Uncle Jack Daniels.
Josh put it in my veins.
Is there a butterfly inside the medicine cabinet? I always love these stay awake pills that are in this.
Well, the mother is clearly just a junkie. She needs to stay awake so she can drink more.
I know that there are like energy.
Time for the liver.
I know there's like 5-hour energy and stuff like that, but are there actually stay awake pills?
Mm-hmm. That's what truckers use. They're essentially just legal speed.
Pretty much.
Oh, call back to Evil Dead, because Evil Dead made a call to The Hills Have Eyes.
The cinematic fight continues.
Yeah, my favorite thing about that weird reference war between Wes Craven and Sam Raimi is that it eventually reached its conclusion when Wes Craven had Sam Raimi's brother Ted in the background of Shocker. It's like, you put your poster and you put my poster in your movie, I'm gonna put your brother in the background.
Not my family. It got really dark though when Sam Raimi snuck radioactive materials into Wes's house and gave him cancer. That was not called for.
Too soon, man.
No such thing as too soon.
One thing I really like about this is like one of those few movies where the boyfriend coming up to the window is met with, "Oh hi, come right in." There's not a big, "What are you doing here? Don't touch me."
I do like the presentation of teenagers in Wes Craven of this film. I can't say for all of them because My Soul to Take does not have realistic teenagers in it anyway. But in this movie,
My Soul to Take didn't happen, Cody.
It did. It was hilarious.
You dreamed it. You dreamed.
Oh, that would explain a lot.
That was what Freddy was doing to you, actually.
I had the brain fever, but
not the brain fever.
The brain fever. I like how if you had "the" in front of any disease, it makes you sound like an old person. I've got the cancer.
You had "the" in front of everything, though.
Because I think it's funny.
It was like I was eating the popcorn.
I'm infected with the cold virus.
I've got the lupus. You know, like...
Jesus.
By the way, you just saw Johnny Depp Jack Sparrow briefly.
The first time, ladies and gentlemen, even back then. Can you stop doing that?
I cannot.
Yet. Cody is a living theremin.
You know, I was just about to say Kazoo is one of my favorite things, but then he kazooed and I was like, oh, okay, that's pissed me off.
I can do the kazooed 1, 2, Freddy's Coming for You.
Do it.
No, let's do it fresher.
Wow.
What?
Way to have stage fright, man.
I'll save it for the credits.
No. When you actually want him to do something, he's not going to do it.
That's why Crow can't ever tell Cody, have sex with me right now, because Cody just, no.
It's pretty much
surprise. Cody, no!
That was personal, Mike. Hurt my feelings a little bit.
Wow, same back alley.
I love Freddy's back alley. I'm not really that imaginative.
That's his favorite back alley where he used to drink like Miller Lite and watch the game on his little like bunny ears television.
I was a Dodgers fan. But the joke was on me.
So I find it amazing that back in the 80s we had the Halloween series we had Friday the 13th, we had Nightmare on Elm Street, all coming out pretty much every year.
It was essentially what we had with superheroes now, but for horror fans.
Yeah, just imagine, like, the market could sustain all three of these mega slashers coming out on a regular basis, and, like, none of them got shortchanged. Whereas nowadays, it's like you get one slasher film and everyone's like, I'm good, I don't need to see any others from next year.
Fatigue.
Well, no one seems interested in making new slasher characters.
Well, they do, but they're normally like they go to direct-to-video instead of actually hitting theaters. No one really wants to distribute them.
Man, I think we've said this on a previous episode where horror fans, especially now, love these movies. Like, oh, they went on forever, wasn't that great? And they got stupider and stupider. You try to do that now, this is stupid, you're wasting money. People seem afraid of large numbers in a franchise. Like, just look at the Fast and the Furious series, how they keep trying to disguise what number they're on. We're just going to keep the title every time.
Faster and Furiouser. Like, they just have to switch it up so you don't realize, like, oh, Jesus, this is like Fast and Furious 19. But I was just thinking about this because the closest we have, like, in modern years has been the Saw series, which went forever. But even that, like, as soon as Paranormal Activity started doing the same thing, everyone went, we can only have one Halloween movie, and it's going to be this one now. Goodbye, Saw.
And then Paranormal Activity stopped after, like, 4?
They're still going, but they're taking longer between entries, and they're wrapping up with this last one. I really love that effect for some reason. I don't know why, but Freddy walking through the bars, it's very Terminator 2, but I really enjoy it.
There's a weird thought. It's funny when you think movies like this were so mainstream when they were coming out. Like, they were blockbusters, but now the only place you can really find this type of horror is through, like, art house horror.
Yeah.
Stuff like It Follows.
Yeah.
And The Babadook. Like, there's this weird subgenre of independent art house horror that's just, in many ways, trying to mimic, like, mainstream pop horror from the 80s.
Yeah, there's a lot of throwback titles, which is really weird. There's not, like, a distinct 2010 type of horror movie. The really good ones we get are all like, okay, this is a throwback to the 70s, or this is an 80s style horror film. There's a lot of throwbacks.
Well, actually, if you think of this movie in a certain way, it was kind of a throwback to 70s Italian horror.
Yeah.
Like, there's very European, like the shot of all those eels and the bugs and her in that body bag. That's totally European horror.
Yeah.
Fun fact about that scene with the stairs is that that was the only scene directed by Bob Shea because he wanted that scene really badly.
Just one of those oatmeal stairs so bad.
That was the big point of contention in the entire movie for them. And it looks terrible.
I think it's an interesting effect. It definitely works better than Tina's fake face over...
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
But we need Robert Shea out to be...
Yeah, they shaved frames from it to try to make it look better.
I thought, like, that was just him putting on a Halloween mask or something.
No, it's supposed to be Tina's face.
Yeah.
Which is why we were, like, seeing Tina in the body bag all over the place.
I love how they just keep falling and falling and falling. It's so weird.
We said a lot of bad things about Robert Shea so far, but you do have to give the guy so much credit for actually making the financing on the film happen.
Yeah, I mean, this was a weird fucking idea at the time, and he took a chance, and, I mean, he took a hell of a chance.
Yeah, and no one wanted it, so he had to move, heaven and earth just to get the money constantly, and wasn't it like the first week of filming, he basically said, like, okay, I'm gonna have to, like, write my own checks out of my own cash just to pay these people, because no one will provide them money. We don't have money yet.
And they went over budget.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, New Line was basically, like, doing one movie at a time, and every movie they were putting out there had the ability to make or break them. Mm-hmm. And even whenever this was a huge hit, they didn't make any money off of it. They just were able to make another movie. That's what made it a franchise.
Although it is weird to think that because of this movie, we now have Johnny Depp starring in so much stuff, and we also have the Lord of the Rings and Peter Jackson's career. Because if this wasn't around,
he's ever made.
Yeah, if this hadn't succeeded, well, Johnny Depp wasn't even trying to audition for this. He just kind of showed up, and they asked him to test.
Yeah, he showed up with somebody else who was actually auditioning. He wasn't an actor.
I was gonna say, wasn't he like friends with Nicolas Cage or something weird and was driving him around?
I think that is true, something like that.
I think he drove Nicolas Cage to a different audition, and while he was just wasting time waiting to pick him up, they were like, oh, hey, do you want to audition for Nightmare on Elm Street? People at home, I made up about half of that. I don't know if there's any facts in anything I just said.
And that's how Nick Cage was in Valley Girl. Just gonna
just roll with it.
Well, Johnny Depp, like, being a New Line guy led to him being in Crybaby. And whenever Johnny Depp saw the dailies from that, he cast him in Edward Scissorhands.
You mean when Tim Burton?
Yeah, did I say Tim Burton?
You said Johnny Depp. I like the idea of Johnny Depp casting himself.
He's got the power.
Like, damn, I'm good. You should use me in your movie.
Hey, you can't say that Tim Burton isn't Johnny Depp from the future.
That is true.
You're blowing my mind.
They have very similar hair.
Oh, that's even more disturbing because, you know, you've seen the images online where they're joking around like, I don't know why they keep casting me in movies where I have to kill Tim Burton's wife. Like the number of movies where Johnny Depp has to kill Helena Bonham Carter. It's a little disturbing.
Well, it's subconscious rejection because now they're not together anymore.
Future him has to murder his present wife.
Well, it's kind of like how we're pretty sure Christopher Nolan murdered his wife years ago.
Trying to confess.
Yeah.
It's interesting just how no bullshit Freddy is in this first movie.
He does not care. He's not becoming a superhero or anything.
Like, he would have, like, if this was 10 movies from now, he would have became the bars. He would have had, like, a prison warden's outfit. He would have reenacted the first season of Orange is the New Black as a character.
I mean, when you put it that way, I kind of want to see that. There ever been a drop the soap moment? Oh, wait, that's in 2.
2 has all the drop the soap show moments.
It's true. It is just really weird comparing this movie to all the other ones except for New Nightmare, because Freddy is such a different character.
Yeah, Freddy just hangs a dude in this.
I mean, pretty much almost all the slasher movies, like their progenitor film or, you know, some film along the way is completely different than the rest of it became.
By the way, we just passed Howard Stark's
Canon. And the funeral from Shocker is having off to the side. But God, I know. But this film is the first Nightmare film looks dated because it's so different almost. Like, because it's just literally a completely different kind of film.
It looks like it comes from a different generation.
Yeah.
Also, something that the later films were very famous for were their griminess and their darkness. And as we can see with this shot, this is such a bright, colorful movie when you're not in a dream sequence. Yeah. It's like very Dario Argento.
We've got to set that contrast, I mean, between Waking World and Dream World and really get the point across.
And Craven's huge on those contrasts.
Yeah, it's always frustrated me with how this is always, it gets remembered as, you know, being a classic and being this great, like, fun horror movie. It never gets enough credit for being beautiful, because this is a beautifully directed movie.
You say as there's a very long close-up on Super Drunk.
The humanity of her face, Cody.
It's like reading all of the Grapes of Wrath in 3 seconds.
Wow. I was not expecting that.
Fleck's gonna give it to you.
Oh, fuck yourself, man.
Literature, bitches.
Literature.
Fleck's gonna give it to you.
Jesus Christ.
Can we stop the commentary?
Also, hit that actor.
I like the weird, like, 70s and 80s convention of the heroine being sent to a facility at some point.
Charles Fleischer.
Yeah. Baby-faced.
Yeah.
Even though
I like how this is our second Charles Fleischer movie.
2 in a row.
One where he's a really creepy potential serial killer suspect for the Zodiac, And one where he's just a doctor.
Also a suspect. Is he Freddy under that face? Spoilers, no.
Actually, it's a lot like The Matrix. Everyone is secretly Freddy.
Everybody, even you, Cody.
That's not surprising.
Kill me.
I am horribly disfigured.
You know what's funny? Robert Englund has like his own specific theory for this movie, which I've never heard anyone else like really go into, which is that the entire movie is a dream.
That was the original idea, wasn't it? I mean, before they Bob Shea had that ending put in, wasn't the whole thing it was just one very bad dream?
I could believe it, because I know Shea was the one who demanded pretty much the entirety of the ending. And they kind of compromised, and what we got is Craven fighting with him over how much to show, what not to show. So it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if they just put it in something different completely from what was
Well, the original ending was just going to be her walking out of the house and into a bright, sunny day. Like, it wouldn't have shown her, like, in the car or anything.
It was going to have the shocker ending.
Because, I mean, I think there even was supposed to be, like, all the kids who died were supposed to be back, like it was all one giant nightmare. Or even maybe a premonition of some kind or something.
But that's something that's always kind of struck me as interesting. In a movie, if they do that, like the whole thing was a dream or a fantasy, it pisses people off. Because it's like, you just wasted 2 hours of my life telling me a fake story. But it's a little weird when you think about it because, no matter what, it's a fake story. Even if the reality of the film was that they were in reality, it's all fake in your level of reality. So it's very odd that people can't form that separation. Most cases, like The Wizard of Oz, people are totally fine with it, but any other movie where they do that kind of thing, they get pissed. Like if there's ever a dream sequence in a movie, like the start of Halloween 2, like the remake, how angry people were.
Well, people were just angry about that because that was the best part of that movie.
That is true. That was.
I feel like what the problem is it's a denial of stakes.
Yeah.
It's like saying the thing you were invested in just evaporated in front of you.
There's nothing to worry about.
And it's a feeling like, okay, so everything just immediately went back to the status quo. Which, I mean, that's just a convention of bad movies in general. Like, you never want the world to be exactly the way you left it, after the opening credits rolled. Otherwise, what the hell were you even doing with that movie? That's something George Romero said in relation to his zombie movies, how there's never really a happy ending at the end of them. And he said, I don't see the appeal of ending the world as we know it and then putting everything back where it was in the third act.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just wasted everyone's time. Like, the point of upsetting the status quo is upsetting the status quo for good. I wasn't drunk.
But with horror films, especially for a long time in earlier years, that was almost always the point. Like, it'd be escapist entertainment where you go to see something frightening, but at the end they put it all back and say, it's okay, everything's back in the box. We don't have Dracula around anymore, he's gone.
Dracula will always return.
The worst part was I wasn't even thinking about that in-joke when I made that. That's just the first thing my mind went to, Dracula losing.
I was gonna say, like, you are seriously committed to that.
I'm sticking with it. It's always true. But for a long time, that was always the case with...
Okay, for those who don't know, we have presented evidence to Cody that there are versions of Dracula that are teased to return. He refused to believe it.
That's because they pick stupid stuff like, well, there's a shadow in the corner of the frame. That's obviously
Jesus
Dracula's
Christ.
soul coming back. No.
This fucking story again.
I'm not wasting the Nightmare on Elm Street commentary on this goddamn art. There will be a whole episode devoted to this.
Dracula always loses. Anyways, for a long time in horror, that was the staple. Like, you had to scare the audience and then tell them everything was fine at the end. And they obviously didn't stick with that very long, because now it's very common to have that final jump at the end of the movie. I don't know where I'm going with this in relation to dreams, but it's something I want to say.
I just want to stop and say that I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that Nancy is where Chris Claremont got the idea for Rogue. It's that one white streak. Got 70s mothers slapping their daughters.
You bitch!
Mother, can I sleep with danger?
Well done, James. How Craven plays the parental figures in this movie has always been fascinating. Craven's always kind of poking at parental figures and the idea of them, and going all the way back to Last House on the Left.
Well, it's funny because, like, this is in the 80s, but it's still going off of the 50s archetypal, like, Leave It to Beaver type of white picket fence parent figure, where everything they say is right and everything they do is right and everything that they're trying to do is for the betterment of their child, whereas this is more like something a teenager would actually want to hear. Because this movie was marketed towards the teen audience. I mean, that was the horror audience.
And look at something like
huge.
Yeah, and look at something like Halloween. The parents are the safe place. They leave, and that's when everything happens. And you're trying to find them so you can get them back so they can save you. Here, in the third act, Nancy's mother is there in the house for the entire third act, and yet she's alone in the house with her own mother. And the parents are ignoring her or have all these screwed up, messed up problems, and they're all pushing them away and lying to them. And
it's the thing I really enjoy about Wes Craven films. He really cared about the subject matter, and he normally went in with a couple of themes in mind. It wasn't just to tell an entertaining story. For this one, obviously that's a huge thing he's trying to get at, is, in a way, this is kind of like a test to move from adolescence into adulthood, and if you're going to stumble in all the other pitfalls that you've seen these adults fall into. So it's not necessarily Freddy Krueger the Dream Killer, it's Freddy Krueger the Dangers of Puberty kind of thing.
Yeah. And Craven places all of the power of the movie in the kids' hands to, stop Freddy or control the situation and everything else. It's not, because no one else will listen to them, it's all of that power is, in their hands to take back the situation.
Which is something very rare for movies of this era. You never really saw the, young kids with that much agency, especially in horror.
Yeah, going back to Halloween again, it's, she's doing the best she can until Loomis shows up and just shoots Michael off a balcony.
6 times!
6 times!
Well, to be fair, that was more of like an Ahab situation. I wouldn't say that's more of him being an adult. It's more like...
Well, true, but
God knows Loomis is not an adult.
But it's that... But it's that outside... I like noir drunk mother here. But it's that outside force coming in. And
a different kind of theme I think they're running with, too, unrelated to adolescence, was Craven was talking about how, to him, the dream world is, obviously it's not reality, it's, being presented with lies, and if you believe them or not. And the waking world is the truth. So it's inevitable that you're going to run into lies and warp realities at some point, and it's your ability to wrangle them in the dream world that keeps you alive. Which I thought was kind of an interesting concept, that we all have to face this at some point. How do you confront lies? It's possible in this case to stay awake. Just like, sometimes you can't convince everyone what the actual truth is. So you have to be able to work with lies, and maybe even tell your own lies to manipulate the situation.
Wow, that was deep, man.
Yeah, Flex gonna give it to you.
Jesus Christ.
Mic drop.
Hey. That's mine.
Sorry, I'm suplexing you is what I meant.
God damn it. Why are you I'm just going to let it go. So once again, I love how he's Fred Krueger in this film.
Yes, I think they call him Freddy once somewhere.
Yeah, just once.
He's Freddy in the rhyme, so it's canon.
Another fascinating wrinkle of this film is that this is the direct result of something that happened years ago that is something you can get behind, and at the same time gives you a moral quandary of how in God's name could you have ever thought that was right? It presents this level of depth that you wouldn't ordinarily have in like a slasher's background history, where the town literally ran him down and murdered him.
Yeah,
And he was innocent too.
That was one of the interesting features that was dropped, I think, from the remake, where they posed the idea that maybe Freddy was innocent.
And I would love to have seen them run with that, actually make Freddy innocent.
Right? Yeah, that was a disappointment, because we already had the version where he's a terrible person. Why not make it where he's still a terrible person, but for different reasons?
Because it's like, it's funny because really, Robert Englund's, we were talking earlier about Robert Englund's version being so likable and it being because it's Robert Englund and he has that great sense of humor, but wouldn't it have been amazing if Jack Earl Haley's version is likable because he's actually a good guy that was driven evil by these people?
Again, there's so much potential. By the way, just living Tiger Beat poster.
I know. But the whole idea of that vigilante justice and that's the darkness, beneath the, happy, bright suburban town, and the parents, the darkness they keep from you and what they did, themes are so strong in this film, and Craven really likes that kind of stuff.
Also, for a second, when Envy was talking about a believable setup, I was confused because I thought he was talking about Asian death syndrome. Is that the name that was?
No, that's what it's called, but it's Brewed syndrome.
Oh, okay.
Is like the technical name for it, yeah.
Which, if you're at home watching this and you have no idea what I'm talking about, Wes Craven was partially inspired by a series of articles that ran about, where were they from? Were they, I can't remember what country they immigrated from.
I think. I don't remember.
And these people had moved here, and several of them had became convinced that they were going to die in their dreams. And they died in their sleep.
And they're mostly all from the same neighborhood, too. But there was one particular story of, after the kid died, they finally got them to sleep. They found, he put all the sleeping pills underneath his bed. He had a coffee maker hidden in his closet, all this other stuff to try to stay awake. And as soon as he went to sleep, he screamed and then he was dead.
And the terrifying thing is, there was never an explanation for any of that.
Nope.
It's just a thing that happened once.
God, that shirt.
Slightly less terrifying backup. Apparently, a scary drunk looked at Wes Craven once, and that inspired Freddy Krueger.
Yeah. And that's...
I just like how Johnny Depp is the babe of this movie.
I know.
That's why they picked him. Apparently, was it Wes Craven's kids?
Yeah, Wes Craven's daughter was...
Yeah, totally a Johnny Depp fan from the pictures.
Yeah, she literally said, he's beautiful.
I'm spellbound.
Which, yeah.
And that led to his
She's
career.
not wrong.
That blew my mind when I was watching Never Sleep Again, is that Wes Craven's daughter launched Johnny Depp's career.
And she didn't see a cent of that.
Yeah, thanks, John.
Way to go, buddy.
Hey, look, parents.
They do exist.
Damn it, son, what did I tell you about sleeping so sexily?
I like his car poster.
I enjoy car.
Do you think he just looks at that and just thinks, one day,
when I'm 13, I'm going to have a car. When I turn 13, I will get the car.
I always love the rooms kids have in these older movies where it's just boy stuff, girl stuff, like with no particular interests at all. Just sports.
Like, what is with the luchador mask that's on his bed?
Why wouldn't you have one of those sitting around? I'm actually curious, you guys don't have luchador masks?
I'm wearing one right now. I don't have one decorating my house.
Why not? You got to put it somewhere when you go to bed, right?
All right, now look at Nancy's room. Just stuff, flowers, a
What,
pink
is that
thing,
tinsel?
some kind of sock monstrosity.
What the fuck is that?
I don't know.
Is that one of the Fraggle Rock things?
Maybe.
Is that the ghost face on the wall?
He was setting it up.
How'd she hide that?
Well, her mother is drunk.
I like her drinking coffee in defiance. I did the same thing.
Sticking it to the man, one cup of Joe at a time.
Oh god, here's her dramatic suit-up sequence.
Naked back, greatest thing ever when you were a kid.
Oh, yeah.
I just enjoy that their TVs are big enough where they could actually use them as extra shelves. I can't do that anymore. Makes me a little sad.
Oh, we do that with the TV in our living room. It's furniture.
God, I remember when we had we got the new TV and we just put the new TV on top of the old TV.
Yeah.
Those were the days.
One for picture, one for sound.
Yeah.
Back home in my parents' basement, I've got all sorts of shit on top of my TV. It's like a pop culture collection.
Oh yeah, I like the creepy dad over there just watching Nancy undress, apparently.
Sternly, like, I don't approve, but I gotta watch.
That whore.
Over there just drinking coffee in the middle of the night like some kind of a hippie freak. Bob Shay's watching this like, no, I don't like the cut of her jib. How many sugars is she putting in?
Nice reference.
God, someone put some new dressing on that, Nancy. Jesus.
I probably would have taken off that wristband or bracelet or... Oh, no, that's just blood. Never mind.
I guess this is like the only movie where changing from a nightgown to a blouse is the dramatic suit-up sequence.
I like how she's just hiding alcohol in every kind of weird place.
Why is, like, the mother and daughter have this weird, like, connection of hiding drinkable items?
Really, the mother owns the house. She can just put the alcohol wherever.
And why not hide it in her own bedroom?
Right? Why hide it at all is what I'm saying.
Wow, look at Johnny Depp and his framed portrait of an American Indian. It's deep, man.
Well, that was... it's Tonto.
Well, I mean, he's the 16th or something, right?
All the seeds are in here.
Please tell me we're going to see, like, a copy of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow or something.
Now, if you actually look, there is a top hat in that room.
Oh, God.
Little...
Willy Wonka. The Amazing Chocolatier.
Then a little tea set.
I like that those two people gave birth to Johnny Depp.
How? He's adopted, isn't he?
They made him in a lab.
Oh, he's actually the second son of Horace Pinker.
To be fair, have we ever...
That is the most pretentious horror movie title I've ever heard. The second son of Horace Pinker.
And that's what we would have gotten if Shocker was a franchise.
I still would watch it and love it, but...
When do you even sit in that chair, Nancy?
It's so small.
Oh, God.
I like Freddy calling from the dream realm.
Freddy drunk dialing.
One thing that always struck me as a little... One thing that's always struck me as a little odd about the first Nightmare movie is they don't really attempt at all to explain how Freddy Krueger came back from the grave. Like, there's actually not that much mythology there. It's just he does and he gets revenge. And why did he wait, like, 10, 11 years? Yeah, just fuck it, kids.
Until they were hot.
That's why I love it, actually, is because...
No, I don't have a problem with it. It's just unusual, because every other film out there tries to give some reason for why this would be happening.
Well, it's funny because, like, supernatural elements are genuinely, like, by their nature, supposed to be something...
You can't explain.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, like, at least in Shocker, there's that moment where the random, like, satanic prison
you got
scene.
it, baby.
By the way, Heather Langenkamp was so taken with that she wanted to take it home with her.
Well, it's...
You?
Well.
The practice phone?
But to be fair, if this was made now for the first time, there would totally be a scene. I mean, technically, we did get it. It was called Freddy's Dead, that scene where they tried to explain how he came back from the grave.
Yeah.
Freddy Krueger, the bastard child of 1,000 maniacs. What do you think he's listening to?
We already in the third act?
Booty cats. The subtitle said the Star Spangled Banner's playing on the TV. Never mind. I was gonna say he's listening to Star Spangled Banner, and then I realized that was a dumb suggestion.
He seems like a kid who would listen to the Star Spangled Banner on cassette.
Yeah, America.
Home of cars.
I love the dinosaur. All that blood. There was a lot inside Johnny Depp that day.
Honestly, I was thinking about this the other day, but I would love if there was like a police procedural movie that takes place in the immediate aftermath of A Nightmare on Elm Street. So this guy just walks into the crime scene and sees like enough blood for 30 people just spread all over a room. And he has to find some sort of, like, at least tell the rest of the town, like, what he thinks is happening.
Oh, we appear to have found some kind of gateway inside of the victim's mattress, which appears to lead to a negative dreamscape, which we have dubbed the Negaverse.
Just imagine how difficult that would be if that was your job. Like, I have no idea how this much blood got into the room and there's only one person missing.
He's a Satanist.
Just imagine a whole movie like that where it's just a guy trying to figure out what the fuck happened like over the course of this movie. He has to put all the clues together somehow, but he has none of the pieces.
I like the awkward wave there.
Hi.
Yeah, don't go back inside, man.
It's okay, they didn't find a body.
Somehow his bones were even turned into blood. Your insurance will not cover that, by the way.
It is weird to think, like, Johnny Depp's character was just liquefied.
Completely liquefied.
There was like a really disturbing, like, deleted shot of him rising out of the bed after.
Yeah. I don't know why they cut it. It always looked very creepy.
Apparently he's dead. I mean, we don't really know. We just see bunches of blood.
Hey, Nancy, if you go into a dreamscape, can you look for Glenn?
We got his blood. We just need to reunite him with the rest.
We have it ready. It's in a cooler.
If you see Glenn in the dreamscape, can you tell him we got his blood waiting for him? I don't know how long he's gonna keep.
Off camera, he's holding like a 10-gallon Ziploc bag just filled with blood.
We're just gonna go ahead and just leave it at the hospital. He can go down there and get it tomorrow.
We have a funnel.
And writes Glenn on the side.
We have a funnel. We can put it back. We just need him here.
And then the next morning, we see a skin and bone Johnny Depp walking around, flapping in the wind.
Laughing in the wind.
Put it back in me. Put it back in me.
And that's when the Dracula struck.
This is actually how we tell which direction the wind's coming from. Johnny Depp is hanging on this flagpole. If he flutters this way, we know the wind's going westward.
That's how golfers figure out what their shot is.
Well, check the old Johnny Depp sock.
Bloodless body around.
He's a one-man industry. Being killed by Freddy Krueger was the best thing that ever happened to him.
Yeah, I had no prospects till Freddy Krueger killed. Can you imagine the commercial for that?
You know, I used to work at drive-thrus and department stores, but, you know, after meeting Freddy Krueger, it changed my life. And he's like, he's sunk into the chair, like he looks like he's like a living carpet.
Come on down to Freddy's house of murder.
Then it's just that scene from the Rennie Harlan one where he puts on the sunglasses.
You'll be welcome to prime time, bitch.
I like how that light bulb gag was repeated in Skyfall. Also, this gag just reused in You're Next.
Yep. I like how booby traps play a big part in this movie's third act. It just becomes Home Alone.
We got a Home Alone. It's the only way. Have I ever told you guys my idea for a movie where it's Home Alone and zombies?
No.
Go on,
Kevin, just imagine Kevin is defending his house, but instead of guys trying to break in and rob him, they're trying to break in and eat his flesh. So all of the traps are just way more lethal.
So it's the exact same movie, still Daniel Stern and Joe Pesci, but
yes.
zombified?
Zombified.
Like, how did this happen? Is it just the wet bandits? I mean, did they break into somebody's house and find a mysterious Tibetan amulet that turned them?
They found a jug of that radioactive shit from Night of the Living Dead.
And he just left the sink running and it flooded and they all drowned.
Lost in New York would be a very different film.
Yeah, can you imagine like an older, wizened Kevin, like in the zombie apocalypse?
I've been told with this.
He and Edgar Frog team up.
God, she is just so drunk. I love you, whiskey.
That's my favorite song.
I'd like to play it for you right now.
Also, is she just drinking lemonade in this entire movie?
Probably.
That does not look alcoholic to me.
Like the
Oh, no, they can make it that way. It's very easy. Just put a little bit of vodka in there.
Yeah, I'm drunk right now.
You don't even know, I'm actually a terrible alcoholic.
I was tempted to put some alcohol in my cider, but I did not.
You're drinking cider again?
Well, I drank it all.
Tony, do you drink anything else but cider?
Well, in the fall, sometimes hard apple ale.
Of course you color code your beverages.
Oh, remind me, which mug are you drinking out of right now?
Muppet mug.
Ah, Muppet mug. It's a casual day.
Muppet mug.
So Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, somebody else is recording, right? Okay, just want to double check.
I am also recording.
Make sure I'm not the only one.
We're just doing this for fun.
No, what a waste.
Amazing revelation.
Minutes left. Hey, is anybody recording this?
Nope.
Professional podcast we got here.
We don't even have advertising. We're not professional. Anyone who listens to the opening of our show knows we're not professional.
So one thing I want to talk about, one thing I really like that Craven does is like, pretty much every other slasher film, the camera is usually the POV or following around the killer, and is behind the person running, or the camera work always favors the killer versus the victim. Yeah, this is one of the only movies I can think of where the camera work is purely subjective. Maybe there's a couple instances where it's kind of POV, but mostly it's subjective. Even in the dream realm that is Freddy's realm, it's not really favoring anybody.
Yeah, Freddy is always an alien entity. You never are put in his shoes for any amount of time.
Yeah.
What is it? Freddy has like less than 10 minutes of actual screen time in this film. He's kind of like the shark from Jaws. Like, he's kind of around and you might catch a glimpse of him in the background, but it's pretty rare he's front and center.
Also,
I love the
terrifying photo in the world back there.
Wait, is that Oogie Boogie?
As he walks down there, and Tate from American Horror Story is playing softball with his brother.
God damn it, Tate.
Craven really doesn't get respect as a surrealist director, as he really should.
No, he does an amazing job with it normally, but there's something about Craven where it's hard to point a finger and say exactly what his style is, because he's not very in your face with most of his choices.
Well, the thing about Craven that I think is kind of prevalent is that he's very, like, I would say he's almost like, what is it when you can write with both hands?
Ambidextrous.
Yeah, he's very much like that with his style of directing, where it's like he can do basically anything. Like, he has a really varied, like, filmography, but it's all masterfully done in some way, except for, like, some of his later films.
And even his later films, there's obviously such things as bad Wes Craven films.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think there's such a thing as a not entertaining Wes Craven film. They're all, even the terrible ones, My Soul to Take is really entertaining to watch, especially with groups of people.
Cursed is a hell of a thing.
Like, the people under the stairs, I can't say this is a great movie, but I love it so much.
It's fun. It's a blast to watch.
And
terrible.
Shocker is one of the most entertaining movies ever made.
Yeah, I'm not even sure Shocker is necessarily a quality film.
Yes,
It's more of like,
I'm sure Shocker is good.
It's awesome, though.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you have the Scream franchise where it's like, there's a consistent level of quality, I would say, with between 1 and 2 and 3. I mean, obviously has its detractions, but
3 is not great.
No.
and then 4, like, people seem very mixed on it.
Yeah, I fell on the side that I really enjoy Scream 4.
I really enjoy it, too.
But I know a lot of people that absolutely hate Scream 4, so I don't know, maybe in a few years people kind of reevaluate the position on it. I think the deal with Scream is kind of that it refused to change anything.
Yeah.
No.
But that was also a point in the movie. They were trying to make a commentary on, like, reboots, remakes, and all that kind of stuff, so.
I love how, that was such a weird shot. I love that shot. I love how monster Freddy is. Freddy's never played as a movie monster in anything else.
On the metal spider hands.
I know. I'm not happy with any of that. And, you know, speaking of the realism on all that, something Craven does, and it's not just Craven, it's also the composer, is there's so much that's done to throw you off subconsciously. Stuff like Freddy's color scheme. Craven read that these two colors next to each other is really hard for the eye to see, so he turned them into a strange optical effect.
Mm-hmm.
Which is so weird because, like, I grew up as a Batman fan, and I never noticed Robin's costume being this weird, like, mesh of colors.
It's garish.
Yeah.
But
That's
there's
why
also
everyone notices Christmas shit so much, because it catches the eye.
Yeah, that's kind of the point. It's like, it really kind of takes over your subconscious whenever you see colors like dueling like that.
I assume Batman did it that way so people would notice Robin and shoot at him first.
Yeah.
Well, that's always been the theory, and it's true.
No, he's invisible. You can't see him.
Child endangerment? What's that?
But there's the color scheme. There's also an element of the music, because the entire main theme is made up of almost entirely of notes that are played in the wrong spot. And even when there's different versions of the theme, turned around that play throughout the film for different incidental music, it's always done the way that throws you off. Like, it's supposed to go in this direction, and now we're just going to randomly play this note, just to throw you off subconsciously. And it helps in that you never know where you are in reality throughout the film.
I think that kind of goes back to Craven's idea that reality is such a hard thing to pin down. I mean, in normal life, it's hard to tell what is truth and what is not.
God, I love Freddy Krueger defeated by childish impishness.
It's kind of poetic. I do love how much just of a bitch Freddy is in the third act of this movie when he's pulled into
It's very appropriate, because at the end of the day, Freddy Krueger isn't cool.
No.
Yeah, he's just kind of all talk. He's just...
Once he's pulled out of the dream world, his pull's over. He doesn't have actual power. He preyed on children.
It's all about the idea of, like, things that you're scared of just being bluster.
Like, seriously, that just happened.
Oh!
I wonder if Wes Craven was ever attacked by an umbrella. Because one, he just used an umbrella to break open that window, scream, the umbrella at the end. To him, it seems like an umbrella is a frightening thing.
I'm sorry, Freddy getting caught in an explosion and going, oh, it's the funniest thing.
Well, also, Freddy is based off of a childhood bully that Wes Craven had, so I imagine there's a lot of, like, traumas that he puts into his films.
Fun fact, my grandparents have that exact Christmas set.
The Bard in a Yard sale.
I like Freddy being entranced by that for a second. They're
It's
playing
the most
poker.
beautiful thing I've ever seen. No, his weakness. That's like water to Jason.
I'm like John Jones.
That's an impressive shot considering the budget.
Oh yeah.
Once again, Freddy just falling back down the stairs. He's just so weak, and I love how Craven wasn't afraid to build up that movie monster and then just have him just shit on for.
I like how this is the precursor to Stu.
I was going to say, Craven always makes the ghost face pretty clumsy.
Yeah,
I think
Ghostface
that's
is
one of
an
his-
excellent example of like the goofy serial killer.
Well, I think he's just Craven was just interested in like that reversal of power where someone you thought was invincible kind of goes out like a bitch.
Yeah.
Red Eye, you kind of get the same thing, like the ultra assassin who has control over the entire flight. His final assault on the house and how poorly it goes.
Like once you take whoever is in control out of their elements, they're not in control anymore. This entire movie's about control.
Also, it's weird that they could do a shot like that because they really didn't perfect like how to do burning effects like that on full scale.
They didn't have gels yet.
Yeah, they didn't have gels until like the mid 2000s. Like they were still testing that stuff out when like Watchmen was coming out.
Like it wasn't until I remember Spawn was like one of the first films to really use the that flame retardant gel.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they were first thinking about making Spawn, they were just going to send a guy straight to hell and film it, but it didn't work.
No, that was actually how the movie got financed.
So that was weird.
She drank so much she didn't exist anymore.
That can happen?
If I had a nickel.
Next day, the sheriff is at a press conference. Well, we believe that Nancy's mother has once again been the latest victim of the Negazone bed strangler.
Now, look, Nancy, if you go back to the dreamscape, we have a gigantic cooler of premium vodka. It is for her consumption only. She can have it. It's going to be down at the station.
I love calling her back like a dog with a bone.
We have one engorged liver.
No,
it's hers.
They just write Nancy's mother on the side of it with her.
Come and get it.
Oh yeah, Dad, I found Glenn's headphones if you talk to him while he's getting his blood.
We'll put it in his blood. So why do I imagine we're going to send Ted in a diving bell down the naked bed. Just like Grandpa Simpson showing up in a diving bell.
We need some more O negative. Go down to the blood mines.
Also, why is it just white fabric and something bloody underneath it is always so goddamn creepy?
Because it's never a good sign in real life.
I like how after throwing him around in the stairs and having him burned alive and all this like really ridiculous stuff, they still attempt to make him creepy again.
Because Freddy will always be Freddy, no matter what you do to him. 10 movies could not make Freddy less Freddy.
Was it 10? There were 7 remake Freddy vs. Jason. I think there's only 9.
Yeah. It actually did not go on as long as, Friday the 13th or Halloween's.
Well, Halloween's was just like 6, 7, 8.
And then the 2 remakes.
Yeah.
Oh! He fell out of existence.
Yeah, this was actually the only part of the original ending that was supposed to exist.
Yeah, because I think the original intention was that it was just a dream. I mean, she just turns her back on Freddy and just take away Freddy's power by just...
That's why Wes Craven just didn't envision a sequel or a franchise. Like, it was supposed to be like this very like one-off capped experience.
And it's about one's control over their own fears and their own mind and you can just, with the power of your will, just turn your back on what scares you.
And then the actual ending shits all over that.
Yeah.
Which I will say is, like, on one hand, I agree with Craven in terms of this film, but there's also the weird element of, if he had gotten his way, Freddy Krueger would have never been memorable, like, in the way that he is now.
No, they could have easily brought Freddy back, or, if Craven had remained in charge of the entire franchise, maybe not. Because Freddy's really remembered for, just being fucking goofy in later films.
Yeah.
And Craven never would have taken him to that level.
Yeah. That's why it's like, I on one hand, it's like I kind of agree with him on it, and on the other, it's like, I think things happen the way they happen. Yeah, wow. That was...
Because I think in the original ending, it was just they get in the car and drive off. There was no, Freddy stuff on the car, and then they just pan over to the girls.
Yeah.
Doing that. You're not quite sure whether it's still in a dream, whether that was all just a dream. You're not really sure.
With Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger.
For some reason, one of my earliest memories of A Nightmare on Elm Street isn't actually from this movie. It's the ending of Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Same here, I think. The
claw bursts out of the bus and, through someone's chest, and for some reason, that was just terrifying to me. Eventually, I found, the original, and the concept really freaked me out as a kid. But just that ending shot from 2. Spoilers if you haven't seen 2, because you're watching this first. Sorry.
Don't see 2.
Sometimes, I think as a rite of passage, you have to watch all of them.
Yeah, you do.
Question. 2 is the one that ends with, the Freddy school bus, right?
Correct.
Yep.
Could you imagine if this could you imagine if this series had kept going with that being the gag of every ending? There's a new Freddy mobile. Freddy becomes a fighter jet.
Did Freddy actually have a flat-out Freddy mobile in one of the movies?
I'm sure.
Was it 5?
If Super Freddy exists, then there's a Freddy mobile.
Super Freddy!
There was a school bus, there was a regular bus, there was that car. What else? For some reason, I don't think he ever had a bicycle or a motorcycle.
No, there was a motorcycle, because wasn't it...
Yes, there was the Freddy cycle and Dream Child.
And fused into him like Tetsuo the Iron Man. It was really creepy.
Oh, that was nice. I'd never noticed before that Sam Raimi was included on the special thank you list.
Take that, Raimi. We thanked you and you can't do anything about it.
Gonna kill him with kindness.
I seriously wish the feud had continued and it never ended, because I want the idea. I love the idea of Raimi making Spider-Man and then Wes Craven having to include Spider-Man in his films as an insult.
No. Wes does the ultimate move. In the background of his last movie, he puts in the Raimi mobile.
Oh,
hoisted on his
Jesus. That would have given him the last laugh.
That might be in my soul to take. We don't know.
He hands the keys over to Bruce Campbell, and Bruce Campbell drives off into the distance, never to be seen again.
No, Bruce Campbell actually dies.
Taking the car out with him.
He kills his beloved Ash.
He kills the classic. He just drives the car off a cliff. Taking them both out at one time.
Finally, it just culminated into Wes Craven just walking into Ted Raimi's house and shooting him in the fucking head.
The end. Coincidentally, we just hit the end of the film.
Oh, what a crappy note to go out on.
I'm sorry, I'm just imagining that just playing out like the end of The Departed. Wes Craven just walks in with bags over his feet and gloves, and Ted Raimi sees him and he's just like, just kill me, man. Just fucking kill me. Just fucking kill me.
And that's why Wes Craven is a legend.
We miss you, Wes.
We do.
I think that's a wrap, folks. Enjoy your night. That was almost a Nightmare on Elm Street pun, but I couldn't think of anything in the moment.
Just sleep well, okay?
Flex gonna give it to you.
Now do X-Men.
It never gets old.
Oh, Mike, as the ending, say, have pleasant nightmares.
Have pleasant nightmares.
You're not my supervisor.
Damn it, Cheryl.
Have pleasant nightmares.
Do the ending of the X-Men theme.
I can't. I don't know if I can just do the ending. I was thinking it'd be better if I did the Benny Hill, like.
Done.
You get more out of life when you go out to a movie. Please remember to replace the speaker on the post when you leave the theater.
Everyone go home.
That commentary had everything.
That commentary was pretty damn good.
That was
I'm glad we
good.
got the reboot actually added. It came out pretty good. I just from all the Blue Velvet talk, now that's what I want to do for my next commentary.
Oh, I would.
Velvet?
I love Blue Velvet. Some of those scenes would be kind of uncomfortable to talk over.
Incredibly uncomfortable to talk over, which is why it'd be perfect.
Baby, wanna fuck?
Perhaps Blue Ribbon.
In dreams, I walk with you.
Say I'll be the bug spray man.
I will be the bug spray man.
She wore blue velvet. This is Box Office Pulp Guy, and this has been a Pulp Podcast production. Now please, 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 put a gun in my mouth and pull the trigger and say goodnight.
And now, on with the show.
Mr. Johnson, have you heard about those people who don't know about our podcast?
Yes, sir. I've heard of them.
Do you think anyone who doesn't know about our Southern Theme podcast should go to jail?
No, sir.
Do you think anyone who has heard about it but hasn't listened to our podcast should go to jail?
No, sir, no.
Do you think anyone who refuses to listen to our Southern Theme podcast should go to jail?
No, sir, not really, no.
Then what should happen? What would be a fair sentence? Do they deserve to die, Mr. Johnson? Do they deserve to die?
Yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell.
Matt Johnson was found innocent of all charges and resumed hosting his monthly podcast, Below the Bible Belt.
This meeting will come to order. The Legion of Pulp is now in session. In a moment, iTunes. Yes, Quizmotron.
I was wondering, Emperor Palpatine, if I could perhaps...
Box Office Pulp thinks we need a few items to pawn on the black market.
Box Office Pulp Guy, you have a podcast dedicated to movie analysis. Pinhead, your pleasure puzzles are deadly. Isaac, you've got corn.
Gone?
What more do you need?
How about a nuclear warhead?
What?
All other supervillains have them. With a nuclear warhead, I shall leave all other podcasts to tear themselves apart with paranoia.
Box Office Pulp wants a magic lasso to hang himself with.
Can I get a ship in a bottle kit
I demand more corn.
to make my own ship in a bottle?
Oh, enough of this. The hell do I look like, Santa Claus? We're wasting valuable time. Right now, my Pulp drones are rewriting Atlas code to make our podcast #1 on iTunes.
Excuse me, Emperor.
Quizmotron, what is it?
All Quizmotron wants is pants. A decent pair of pants.
Darth Vader wants pants too.
Order!
Glory to the
Pain is not supposed to be this complicated.
Tune in next week at PulpPodcastNetwork.wordpress.com.
I don't even know how I deal with any of you on a daily basis.